Now that we've finished modelling our part, the way that we communicate information as a rule is through an engineering drawing. So we've got our bracket open still, we're in a project called bracket. We can just go to new, and this time we can either pick the Oakland's drawing template if you're at college, or if you're on the extended degree program, just click on the ED template. So just double click or click and then press create. What we've got now is an A3 sheet of paper. It's got some bits of information on your name from the application properties we set earlier. It'll pull through details like material, and if we enter details like check by today's date, the projection, and the fact that it's one sheet of one. First thing that we need to do is bring in the part that we're going to draw. Well, we're not going to draw it, we've already drawn it. What we're going to do is bring through the part which we're going to dimension. So we click base view. It's already found because we've got the bracket open apart. What we're looking now for is the view with the most information on. I won't go into too much detail now, but what I want is that view there, which is the view where I can see sort of most things going on. I'm not going to worry too much about these details yet, we'll come back to them. And I'm just going to place the first view here. Automatically it's going to start to set up the projected views. Okay, and what we need to do now is put on as many as we need to convey the information. In this case we're going to put a top view and a side view. Also we're just going to put a little isometric view up here in the corner, just so that we get an idea of what the part looks like in 3D. So once we've done that, we're going to right click, press create. It's going to produce those views. In the model browser, here we've got view 1, the first view that we placed down. Underneath it, it's got the top view and the side view, and then just a reference to the part. And over here we've got our isometric view, and again a reference to the part. These three, because they're projected, they are linked together, hence that L-shaped line you can see there, and this one is a view all of its own. What we can see in solid are the edges, and these dotted lines here are hidden view. So we know that there's a hole here, but we can't see it because it's hidden in the part. And again over here we've got a hidden view. Now at this stage it's up to you whether you show that information or don't show that information. In the end it's all about making the drawing clear so that someone else can produce the part that you've drawn, maybe on the other side of the world. In this particular instance we can't see that well what's going on inside here, but what we can do is chop down through this part and create what we call a section view, as if we chop this part in half and looking through from this side. So in this case I'm just going to click on the border of this side view, right click, delete, and yes, I want to delete that view. I'm now going to create a section view, so it's asking select a view. This is the view I want to section, and now it's asking me the endpoints of the section line. Now I don't want to click on that green dot there in the middle, I want to hover over it and just come up a little bit. You'll see the dotted line now, and then come straight down till I get the perpendicular side. Right click, create, and now you can see it wants to create again just a side view, but this time sectioned. What we see now is much more detail now. The hatching is where we've actually cut through, in this case the part, and then we can see the two holes and the slot underneath. I just want to move the title for this view, AA. It's a section on AA. The scale is 1:1. Okay, I'm just going to move it around so it looks okay. And now I'm ready to dimension, but just before we do that, I am just going to edit this view. Because it's a sort of a pictorial view, we're just going to turn this shaded button on, and what you'll see is you just have a little bit of colour and shading to it. Because we've got this section view here now showing us the detail of these holes, I don't really need the hidden view in here, so I'm just going to right click on the first view that we created, edit, and instead of showing hidden lines, I'm going to take them away. It's just cleared this drawing up. Now we're going to move on to annotation or dimensioning. At this stage, not going into too much detail, but there is a little bit of a process to follow here. The first thing that I always do is add center lines to any of the round circular elements of my drawing. Zoom in a little. Okay, so where I've got a full circle, like here, here and here, I'm going to use center mark. This one's just one circle on its own, so I just click anywhere on the edge, it puts a center mark through. Now where I've got two sharing the same center point, I want to pick the outer one, then I get a proper size center mark. What we've got now on the side view is that we know that these two is the side view of these holes here, but we're just going to tell the end user that they are definitely round. So I'm just going to click on these center points to create a center line. I can do the same over here again, or if there wasn't a center line there, a center mark, which sometimes doesn't happen, you can click this one here called bisector and then pick the two lines that you know are the edges of your hole and it will put one in. Okay, so all the round elements now have center lines through. The next step is to go to the overall sizes. In this case it's sort of length, width and height. So we now click on dimension. Most of the dimensioning that you'll do will be with this command, and for our first drawing we're not going to worry too much about the process of it. We're just going to try and get it to look tidy. As you go through the course you'll find out the finer points of how to dimension. So what I did there, if I just cancel out again, started the command, the first point, now I can either pick the end point or the actual line. Second click was up here, and then I put the dimension down with a third click. I then get this box up. I don't need to see this one every time because these lines are the note for automatic dimensioning, and we're just going to untick that box, hit OK. Now when we start dimensioning, just going to make that line up with that one. We don't need to edit that size, that's the size that we drew it, that's the size we're going to get. So we just keep going around now and clicking all the elements. So now we've got the height, the width and the depth. We can now start working down through the detail, and we'll start using things called datums. Again, you'll learn more about these as you go along. So I'm just going to start dimensioning my way. And I'm just looking to see how I've got everything. So I've got all these heights here, got the distance from the back, need to do the width of this slot. If I pick the whole line, it'll do that all in one for me. And at this stage, I think that's sort of most of them. can right click and hit OK. Got some more specialist annotation ones here. Got one called chamfer, which we can do up here. So click on the angle, click on a horizontal or vertical line, it will work out the size and the angle. We've also got one for holes. So when we drew this, remember it had a countable and a thread inside. So if I click hole and thread, it will pick up all of that information and dimension it for us in one go. Okay, so we've done sort of all the lengths and holes and the chamfer. There is one that we missed here, the radius down here, that we can find back in dimension. Just going to zoom in. When you're trying to dimension a radius, you need to click on the highlighted red line. Don't click on the end point or the center point. The CAD system then goes into sort of that point to point mode. So just come out. And just a sort of quick scan over to make sure we've got all of the dimensions. So I think we have. If we hit save now, the part was called bracket. We'll call the drawing bracket save. And now you see that information has come through onto the drawing as well. So congratulations, you've modelled a few parts now and you've created your first basic engineering drawing.